Hey y'all, I'm your host, Aaron Smith of the Offshore Marine Service Association. Each Friday, I'll bring you the Offshore Briefing, a quick rundown of the week's notable developments, updates, and news you need to know in the offshore space. Whether you're on deck or at your desk, we're glad you're here. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Maritime in America, the Offshore Briefing. As always, I am your host, Aaron Smith, and as always, I have with me my co-hosts, Angel Johnson and Ashley Smith. How are you?
And Ashley Johnson. And don't say as always, because one day we're not going to be here, just so you can't say it as always. And I'm by myself.
And that will be a great day.
Rude.
And I will not have to worry about what anyone is going to talk about.
Listen, it's not bad what I'm talking about. It's actually, I was taking a page out of Angel's book and doing a fun fact, because we talked so much maritime today with our monthly podcast with Zach Williams. I thought I'd switch it up a bit.
Good. Well, I am going to start us off with an actual maritime story. I have no idea if the actual will be necessary there, but I feel based upon the look of everyone's face,
mine's
that it is
transportation related.
Adjacent.
But
See, this is why I'm starting. All right. So I just wanted to go over, in the law, in the U.S. Code, every agency, the purpose of every agency is spelled out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then everything that agency does is spelled out. I mean, that's kind of the basis of laws, right? Like,
right.
Here's what
none
the
of them
agency
ever
is.
do what they do.
Here's what the agency is supposed to do. So I just wanted to, so the Coast Guard has kind of two broad missions, non-Homeland Security missions and then Homeland Security missions. And so the non-Homeland Security missions are marine safety, search and rescue, aids to navigation, living marine resources, fisheries law enforcement, marine environmental protection, and ice operations. And then the homelands are, those are outside of what we usually worry about, but security, drug interdiction, migrant interdiction, defense readiness, law enforcement, those things. But let's focus on its non-Homeland Security missions, because those are where OMSA members are affected the most. And so you can read along at home. 14 USC Section 102, primary duties. And then if you go to B, and specifically B3, is the mission that the Coast Guard is most relevant to OMSA members. So primary duties, the Coast Guard shall administer laws and promulgate and enforce regulations for the promotion of safety of life and property on and under the high seas and waters subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, covering all matters not specifically delegated by law to some other executive.
Oh my God, you lost me. That was so definitive.
Well, that's how laws are. But do you notice what is not?
Rude.
Do you notice what is not in that statement?
No, I didn't, because like I said, it was a lot.
For the promotion of the U.S. maritime industry.
Okay.
Is not in there.
Why?
Because they believe that mission, the promotion of the U.S. maritime industry, goes to MARAD.
But, okay, proceed.
But when you're in a federal policy or rulemaking situation, the Coast Guard is going to write the regulation or write the policy letter or write the MSIB. They're not going to consult MARAD.
No.
They're just put it out. So when they put out this policy or this regulation, they have no statutory requirement to make sure that they don't screw the U.S. maritime industry. So as long as they're, quote, protecting life and property on and under the high seas, they can screw over every U.S. vessel operator,
right,
every U.S. mariner, and every shipyard. That's not how it should be. So when we put in comments and say, hey, yes, foreign vessels, i.e., yes, Chinese vessels, should be subject to cybersecurity requirements,
right,
because you are causing a massive comparative disadvantage to us compared to them, Coast Guard can statutorily just shrug and go, not my job.
And again, like I said on the podcast, that is my sticking point for all of this stuff, is the security. If you're
Yes.
having China, as Maisie would say, come to our port, plug their shit in so they can get the shit off of it. So it's in our shit now.
Not the Coast Guard's job.
Okay. Whose
Is-
job is
is-
it then?
as long-
It's the web's job. It's up in the line. It's on the
Yeah.
internet.
Not my job.
There's a certain
This-
person that we used to work with that would be that person.
This is what
Not you, Michelle.
I think this is one of the primary problems with any sort of any sort of effort to promote the U.S. maritime industry is we can dump all of the money we want to into the U.S. maritime industry, but if Coast Guard is sitting there writing regs to make everything absolutely perfect without any sort of look at, oh shoot, dumping tons and tons of requirements onto the U.S. maritime industry, and then wondering why they can't compete with some vessel that's flagged in the Bahamas and which has a regulatory regime of a dude sitting in an office, and they're like, oh, well, why can't you? What do you mean you can't compete with that guy? Well, yeah, because he has a regulatory regime that's 4 pages long. Try not to kill anyone. Emphasis on the word try. Versus us, which are getting inspected in costly requirements every way, shape, and form, regardless of if they work or not.
Why do you think that is? Is it because it could lead to I'm not gonna say lead to too much work for them, but too much additional scrutiny or additional, you know what I mean?
No, I think it's
was it
just these things.
weren't
This
thought
is
out?
how laws just develop. You're writing one thing in a vacuum, and then later someone else is writing something else in a vacuum, and sometimes they don't.
Too many vacuums.
Yes.
Why are there who? I know that we talk with the Coast Guard sometime, but who are they getting their information from to make these regulations?
I mean, and
Themselves most of the time,
Yeah.
which is
themselves. We've been dealing a lot with the implementation of the IMO chemical code and how it affects OSVs, and it's an IMO regulation, if you will. It's not actually a regulation, but it's an IMO requirement. The other flag states will just completely say, "Oh yeah, no, I know what the chemical code says, but you're good. You've made a good faith effort to comply.
you're good, bro, as I say.
Yeah, you're good." Coast Guard goes by just every letter, and will not deviate a little. So you have two completely different requirements for a foreign vessel versus a U.S. vessel. And when you point this out to them, they're like, "Oh, well, that sucks to be you." And I'm like, no, you're taking jobs from Americans. You shouldn't do that. And if your role is to promote safety, well, safety isn't flag dependent. Safety is safety. If what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Another good saying.
Yes. Ashley can never get us.
I don't understand it though. What's good for what's a gander?
In male goose.
Oh, didn't know that.
Thank you, Lise.
See?
I'm just gonna sure. Male
Oh, wait,
goose
hold
sounds
on.
Good.
What? Hey Siri, what is gander? Hold on.
And so why doesn't I'm confused on
An adult male goose.
Yes.
Good
We'll call you
job.
the gander.
So I'm just confused on why they're allowed to be in this vacuum, and why isn't they don't have to consult with Marriott at
And look, I would say that would be very. What is great about the Coast Guard is they can make autonomous decisions. That's good, and I do think there should be an agency that,
But sometimes
but they should
we
have.
don't let our children, right,
Yeah.
15-year-olds, make autonomous decisions. They make their decisions, but parents usually approve said decisions.
Well, so if you go down, like I said, that was B3 that I read you, the marine safety requirement. If you go down just to B4, which is the next requirement, it is develop, establish, maintain, and operate, with due regard to the requirements of national defense, close comma, aids to navigation, icebreaking facilities, and rescue facilities. So even though we have a defense department, Coast Guard still has to, with due regard to national defense,
For the due regard.
operate these other missions. Why that should be in the marine safety language as well, with due regard to the promotion of U.S. maritime industry. So you're not taking over MARAD's role, but you're saying, hey, I got to keep one eye on making sure I'm not screwing over the U.S. operators when I'm promulgating regulation. Because no, I don't think every time HOMA issues an MSIB, do they have to consult MARAD? No, that would be cumbersome. But when they do write an MSIB, they should at least be thinking,
Let's keep everyone in the loop.
yeah,
Yeah.
oh, shoot, maybe I should consult with U.S. vessel operators, or maybe I should make sure that this doesn't adversely affect them before issuing something. So that's how I think the language should be. And like I said, there's a model, one paragraph down for how it could go.
I think we're being too rational in this conversation for their thinking.
Well, I think it ties back in because you have the Maritime Action Plan from the administration, which includes a regulatory reduction.
It includes a lot of stuff that isn't
Yeah.
happening. Like, let's go through that. That'll be another day, another soapbox.
Yeah. But it includes, it says we need to unburden the U.S. maritime industry from regulations. Well, a great way to do so is just make sure that every time you write a law, you at least have a box you check like, hey, in writing these regulations, I made sure that I wasn't absolutely abjectly screwing over the U.S. maritime industry. That doesn't seem like too much for me. So that was what I want.
Okay. So to elaborate on it says a common idiom, what's sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. Never heard it that way.
No.
Never.
Yeah.
What kind of sauce?
I know. Then that's weird because it's like you're saying you're going to eat them. Like,
Well, yeah.
I don't know. Okay, that is not what I was.
What are you doing?
Okay.
What are you doing with geese?
I'm
Besides
running
eating?
from them. I mean, I still remember the geese that were outside Miller Hall at LSU that used to chase us. It's awful. Like I still think about them. Sorry, guys, I have to adjust my knee brace. Okay.
Lady. All right.
That is not. Today marks.
Disclaimer, this has not passed editorial scrutiny.
It is not. Okay. Because I was only 4 months old when this happened, today marks the anniversary of Pan Am Flight 759.
Yeah.
Crazy, huh? I always knew about it. Again, I was only 4 months old because it happened in 1982, July 9th. Dating myself. As being the middleest person in this room.
Yeah, I wasn't born yet.
I know. The whole thing, and because Aaron's brother is now an airline pilot, I've like aviation's cooler to me now. Not that it wasn't before, but it's just fascinating, like listening to him talk.
As opposed to trains.
As opposed to trains, correct? Because that's inappropriate to talk about here. Because, and just watching all the work he put in to getting his license to where he is now over the past, what has it been, 6 years?
Yeah,
Give or
I'd say,
take?
yeah, probably around then. Yeah.
Anywho, this flight, so I just did a deep dive on it, obviously, because I can't help myself. I mean, not only, I forget, it literally took out a neighborhood.
Yeah.
Specifically one house and then all the remaining houses, and it obliterated, the plane did. And everyone, all 137 passengers on board passed away,
Like
plus
7 on the ground.
8 on the ground.
Yeah.
However, I always forget about the sole survivor. She was a 16-month-old baby that the crib had fallen over, and then a mattress fell on top, and then part of the plane fell on top of that and completely enclosed her, so she wasn't touched by anything.
I didn't
She was
know
the
that.
sole survivor.
Wow.
Her 4-year-old sister and her mom died. The dad was at work, but she was one of the main houses where it came out.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? So I told you we've
Yeah,
come a
that
long
is-
way. And then this happened. It was a what was it called? The reason a microburst.
Oh, yeah.
And then 3 years later, another plane went down because of a microburst. And those two accidents caused the FAA to change their policies and requiring the airlines to have those microburst shields, basically, and notifications.
hmm
Oh.
There was another one in Colorado Springs growing up that was a microburst related.
Well, these two specifically, because of whatever they happened, they were very similar, and had they had the right equipment and the right technology, it could have been prevented.
Probably wind shear detection.
Correct. So
Yeah.
anyway, I mean, you never know when you fly. And then that brought me down the path of the India Air guy. Remember that one? He was the only survivor, and it killed everyone on the plane, and it hit like 7 buildings and killed the people in the buildings. He was on the plane. He survived. He was 11A on whatever Dreamliner series it was. So I need to, next time we fly, which I feel like we're flying so much these days, I need to Google the safety seat on the plane. That's all I got for you.
Thanks for the airline news.
Yeah.
Okay. So with the past holiday, and I said I was going to do this last week, but I changed my mind. So this week, with the past holiday, the word independence was in my mind. Not in terms of the nation's history, but like what independence means for the maritime industry. Last week, we discussed the Coast Guard announcing the program. So it led me down a rabbit hole asking about, what if hurricanes shut down the ports? What if the global shipping is disrupted? And we have answers to that, but that's kind of where my mind was, because capability isn't something that you create overnight. It takes years to build and years to train captains and DPOs, chief engineers. All of that takes years to build vessels, decades to develop a strong maritime workforce. And that's why every decision made, whether in Washington or boardroom or the back deck of a boat
Or a private club.
It should be seen through the lens of, does this leave the American maritime industry stronger than it was today? It's not just about one vessel. It's about recognizing that sometimes the fastest way to strengthen our maritime capability is to leverage the commercial maritime industry that's already doing the work every day. So that brings me to a new feature that I would like to do, not every episode, but as needed, where I talk about how the maritime industry is changing, how technology evolves, markets shift, regulations are updated, because change is a part of the job, but there's a difference between adapting to change and creating uncertainty. And I think that is with the waiver, which is kind of what pushed me down this road. What the waiver created is some uncertainty. So that's why I believe it's important to not just focus on the short-term thinking, but what does this mean for the long-term capability of America's maritime industry? So whether we're talking about offshore gas, Coast Guard, shipbuilding, the workforce, training, or policy, it all comes back down to one question, which is, does this make the American maritime industry stronger 5 years from now than it is today? If the answer is yes, it's worth paying attention to. If it's no, we should at least be asking why. So this feature will be called Maritime Capability, and I'll find stories or maybe just situations where we need to focus on the long term of the action instead of just the short term.
Cool.
Very good.
So
Good. Like it.
So not pulling random fun facts and discussing them.
Correct.
Okay.
Although I like doing that.
No, that's what I do. That's what I'm saying. So you're saying that I'm not doing the right thing. Okay. Good. Hey, the last few
Nice.
episodes I've been pretty normal.
Yeah.
I mean, I could go off on kids' sports if y'all'd like me to.
No.
Okay.
All right. Well, that was good. Hope everyone has a good week.
Yes.
Hope
Weekend.
everyone continues to be safe.
Have a good one.
Happy Friday.
That wraps up another episode of Maritime in America. We're proud to highlight the voices and stories that keep the American offshore industry strong. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us, and remember, the course ahead is shaped by those who step up and steer it. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your crew. Tune in every Friday for your offshore briefing, and don't miss our next full episode, dropping soon with a very special guest, Mariner's Perspective. Catch you next time.